So I know last week was tough with Coach Clark's situation, but I know you guys were able to get on the field a little bit from a defensive standpoint. What did you identify maybe after the first two games that you needed to work on and hone in on during the bye week?
Well, first, just starting with Coach Clark, I mean, it is a reminder to all of us how your world can change in a blink of an eye. You know, you're in the office with a guy one day, and then the next day, the impact on his life, his family's, and everything else. And I just obviously prayers and well wishes, and it becomes a whole lot more real when you walk past his office every single day. And so, pray that in time everything works out for Coach and his family. Relative to last week, the answer is you got to work on everything. I mean, it's a bad answer, but it's the truth. Regardless if you get the outcomes in the first 2 weeks, or you don't get the outcomes in the first 2 weeks, it doesn't make your season or break your season. And the end goal is to make sure that you aren't simply what you are in those first 2 weeks. There's a reason you practice. There's a reason you put the time in. Obviously, you've got some game data and some bullet points that become a lot more real once you do it on Saturday. But beyond that, we got to continue to get better in all facets. But you find a way to tackle because you don't get a chance to tackle on Saturday, so you don't miss those opportunities. So you kind of create some of those, and then you try to get a head start on the opponent to the best of your ability as well.
What have you seen from North Carolina? I'm sure you've watched plenty of film of them over the bye week, but what do you see of their offense, and what kind of stands out to you about what they're able to do?
Yeah, very multiple. I mean, the thing that you note is what you see in game one is not necessarily what you see in game two, which is not necessarily what you see in game three. And so, you can't get it's so locked into just what the film is showing you. You got to, trust from a rule standpoint. Whatever they give you ultimately this Saturday that you can handle and line up in. Certainly there's some commonalities. You got a quarterback that can drive the ball downfield and beat you with his feet as well, which is always something. First thing you look at defensively is, do you got a guy that scrambles? Guy that scrambles to throw and a guy that scrambles to run. Is their quarterback run game in that? And so you got all of those facets in addition to several personnel groupings, both big and small. So a lot for us to handle. This is our first opportunity as a unit to watch a lot of the opponent. The first 2 weeks, good or bad, you're doing a lot in the way of, okay, these are our rules, trust them. How they line up is how we line up, and then we just got to trust it and let it rip. And then now we're transitioning. We have a 3-game study, and one of the conversations with the guys is making sure that we're not memorizing plays. And those are things you just think about when you got such a every year now, things that you're learning when you got a unit that you're working with for the first time, and all these guys are new, is how they prepare, and all those things. So this will be the first week that, yes, we'll study it, and yes, we'll take certainly some stock in what we're seeing, but then recognize that it could be a completely different set come Saturday.
What kind of challenges could a Bill Belichick offense pose you?
Yeah, I mean, I think respect is very real, and obviously there's not a coach that's ever coached the game that deserves any more respect than Coach Belichick and the thing that he has done over a long period of time. You have to make sure that that doesn't turn into a fear factor. Where he's smarter than us. He is. Accept it, move on, and then run your call to the best of your ability. Play with physicality and effort, and then do it again the next snap. But again, just the multiplicity. They know how to attack you. Coach Kitchens does a tremendous job, been doing it a long time as well. Again, so the respect factor is real, and then in the end, you got to make sure that guys are ultimately running the our calls and attaching again the physicality and effort to it that give you a chance to even in those moments where they out scheme you, that you can knock it down and survive the down and move on.
How do you evaluate the pressure your defensive line has gotten on the opposing quarterback?
Yeah, really hard to evaluate up until this point, and which is okay. It's just the reality of it. And we haven't seen much in the way of pass game. We've seen a lot of runs in the first couple weeks. Other years is the exact opposite. What you don't want to do is create an evaluation that's not there. Kind of a mythical evaluation, or you get such a small sample size. You can use any example. Obviously, football is the one we're talking about, where you get a small sample size and a guy goes 4 for 4 or something like that in a baseball game, he's the greatest hitter of all time, or 0 for 4, and all of a sudden he stinks, type of thing. And so the same thing is, we've gotten some pressure at times, which is good. But again, the evaluation kind of continues that way. We like our guys, without question. We can see some at their best, kind of what we think their impact can be on the game. But vertical is still out, and we'll see as we go and see a little bit more passes, which we will this weekend.
What do you see from North Carolina's offensive line then?
Yeah, I think you see some max protection opportunities. Makes it very difficult for, even when you bring pressure, for instance, for defensive guys to get home on a quarterback. Then you got a quarterback that keeps things anti-fragile offensively because he can, scramble and extend plays in that. They're willing to get him out of the pocket. There is some RPO, so you kind of have every layer from a pass game standpoint. And so from that, makes it very difficult to say, okay, this is how you attack it, or you say, well, this is the weakness. Well, that might be a weakness if they have 5-man protection, but if it's 6-man protection, that weakness doesn't exist. And then you can guess right, and the quarterback scrambles and goes and makes a play. So it'll be a major challenge for us to get home. We know that, and then maybe if not equally as challenges to keep him in the pocket and kind of squeeze and condense. Sometimes pushing the pocket and keeping a guy in the pocket is sometimes just as effective as actually knocking him down.
What North Carolina struggled on third down, and particularly through these first 3 weeks. What are you noticing on film, maybe on early downs, to kind of get them in those obvious situations?
Well, and that's just it. I think generally speaking, is when you're talking about third down success rate, you got to look at the number next to the 3. Has a tendency to be a determining factor, not the ultimate factor, but a determining factor where the offense is, executing a positive rate versus the defense. But, a commitment to the run game. If you can put yourself in a position that you can, I wouldn't say, necessarily, squash all runs, but making sure that you're not giving up the explosives. You're putting them in a situation that, to your point, right, it's a lot of times third down has everything to do with first and second down, but making sure that we're sound in those moments and making sure, also one of the things we talk to the guys all about is we say change the math at times. They're going to do, and they do a nice job in their run game of making it very difficult to have a plus number defensively. Whether they create that with an RPO situation or they do that with surfaces, they play with extra tackles in the game as well, going back to week 1. And so, one of the things is, the ability to change the math. One of theirs, one of theirs doesn't block 2 of ours. That's math in the real negative sense. But even if we don't have the plus numbers in some of the run game, a guy thrown off making a tackle, when that's happened, as with all offenses, makes it very difficult to sustain and put yourself in a position third down wise where you can be in a position to execute. And that's something I just think as we go through the first couple of weeks, we got to see more of that. Guys getting off blocks, and maybe the numbers aren't in our favor and some of that stuff, but it ends up being what looks like a positive play offensively turns into a positive play defensively.
Coaches obviously kind of take from the football world around them, and to some respect. With Coach Belichick coming to the college game, how have you seen the pro game kind of influence offenses in the college game, and even defenses in the college game as the 2 games become a little bit more similar?
Yeah, I think it has been interesting. I think in as you talk through spread offense and tempo, and way back when I was with Coach Kelly, Coach Dawson, and myself, actually with Coach Kelly back in New Hampshire before anybody knew who Chip Kelly was, and it was going 1,000 miles an hour every single day in practice, and we're trying to figure it out defensively and everything else. We're going back 20-some-odd years. But what you saw, and I give credit to Chip and a number of other coaches as well, but you probably saw a little bit in the way it trickle up in terms of what was happening offensively in the quarterbacks and the RPO game. Yeah, you can't run RPOs in the NFL, but press a pause button on that because they do. They just do it a different way. I think for a long period of time you saw a lot of that. I think with the use of tight ends, the use of wide receivers, you kind of see with the Rams a little bit, wide receivers that are kind of in tight end positions and stuff like that. Well, there's been a trickle down effect from the NFL ranks back down to college, and you just see a little bit more in the way of managing clock as opposed to just every week, just extreme tempo. I think there's quite a bit of that. as you're seeing. I think the same thing defensively. I think the biggest thing is as you go through that, short of having just elite talent on the defensive line where they can make everything right, short of that, you got to play with 11. And that sounds stupid, but it's the reality. You can't have half-field defenders just hanging out or post players just hanging out, defending one type of play when offensively they could be, a quarterback could run it, he could scramble, he could hand it off. There's a play off the play in that jet sweep, he could hand it off, add a gap, and all those things. So I think from that standpoint, you're seeing both offensively and defensively more commonality probably than historically.
How important do you think winning the turnover battle this week and getting your offense more possessions will be to winning this game?
It's one of one. It's 1A, it's 1B, it's 1C, it's 1D. We do the study every week, the impact of takeaways and turnover margin, both in the NFL and in college football. I think in the first 2 weeks, Power 4 football, I know you do quote me. That's what this podium is about. But I think it's about 90% if you won the turnover battle in Power 4 football in the first 2 weeks. I think there's only been 10 losses. I think in the NFL, I think it's 71% winning percentage. That doesn't account for who your quarterback is, rushing yards, passing yards, anything else. It's just it's an amazing stat. And as we tell the guys, if a different stat contributed the way that did, then we talk about that more. But we got to fight for it. It's easy to say, they're going to try to keep it away from us and all those things. But it's a predictor, man. And so we got to find a way to get some.
You talk on the sample size being very small, but with 2 weeks under your belt in this bye week, where do you think that the UCF's defense stands in their identity and going into this big game?
Yeah, I don't think you can rubber stamp, as you said, an identity at this point. I think, the challenge each week is the challenge each week. What you don't want to do is prepare, work your tail off, tell the guys how important a Saturday afternoon is. Then you get the outcome, and then you come off of getting the outcome and say, well, that didn't really matter. And so dismiss it. So we're not doing that. But there's the same token is, we respect for the opponents that we played, respect to our players that they played the way that they did, and there's some positives, and we certainly got the outcomes that we wanted, and individual plays that we're disappointed with. But I think that's just something that comes over time as you're getting into both conference play moving forward, and then obviously an elite opponent this week, another Power 4 team, and it's sample size is real, and you have to make sure that you are honest about that as you go through the season. So the verdict's still out.
Small sample size, but how would you evaluate linebacker play through 2 games? I know you opted not to play, Lewis after the targeting, but a guy like Cole Kozlowski looks like he's making the most of his reps. Is a guy like that maybe earning more playing time?
Yeah, and we had every intention of getting Lewis in. That was just the way the score was at that point. It was just kind of a responsible thing to do, give some other guys some opportunities. So we'd be excited to get him. He was disappointed. I mean, he still wanted to go out there, but be excited to get him back this week. And, you mentioned Cole. I mean, it's a guy that I guess every conversation there's or every conversation you all with as coaches, it's somehow circles back to the transfer portal. But he's one of those guys that you turn on the video and you say, well, no, we're not going to take a guy from Colgate. And you turn on the video again and you say, well, we're not going to take a guy from Colgate. And then he's making 140 tackles a year type of thing. You say, well, maybe we should take a look at this guy from Colgate. And he's a guy that quite frankly, in the first couple of weeks, he's done what he's done over the course of his entire career. I mean, there's one football out there, and he has a tendency to go find it and knock it down and tackle it. So been pleased with that, and that's a position. Jaden McDonald and Kelly Lawson, and it's one of those that you got to be able to. It's a very difficult position to play. Talking about what offenses do, and they're involved in all aspects of it, from run game and pass game, and having several guys that we feel like can go into the game and be productive has been a positive. So small sample size, but pleased.
Alex, you've coached in some games with lots of hype surrounding them, been around that. What's it like to keep your players maybe kind of focused this week when you've got so much attention nationally and everything focused on Belichick's return and things like that? Sure. How do you kind of keep everyone making sure they're kind of even keel, not too much into?
Yeah, no, I think it's very real. I mean, one of the things we talk to the guys about is if it distracts you, it diminishes you. So you can be excited, and there's times you got to get yourself up. There's times you got to calm yourself down, and all those things. And that has a tendency to kind of ebb and flow over the course of the work week leading up to the game. It'll be the same thing, Saturday game day. I remember playing for my college coach back at Mount Union Division III school, and Coach Karras, all-time winning coach, and I mean, just outstanding. But I'll never forget him coming in the locker room. I think it was a playoff game, and saying, "Well, boys, we lost another warm-up," because they're hooting and hollering on the other side, and that just sticks with me. It's still going to come down to. You can go fire and brimstone in the locker. It's still going to come down to execution and all those things. So, and one of the things we talked about the guys actually this morning, we're not looking for entertainment. We're looking for execution. So we have to make sure that our roles, as it applies to Saturday game days, aren't the outside noise and all that. And that's, on the same note, that's why you want to play Power 4 football and you want to play in those games. And so you want to recognize that. But then you got to be able to put blinders on when you put blinders on. So, again, it's on the practice field during the work week, and it's the same thing on game day. And then the final thing we talk to the guys about all the time is it's focus and refocus. No human's able to focus for 3 hours. I say blinders on, but the blinders have the tendency to come off. Something happens, emotional reaction. You thought a game was going a certain way, and it goes a different way. Or one of the things we talk to the guys about, don't miss the good stuff. If you get wrapped up, you thought that was a good play, and the crowd's going nuts. The advantage of being home and all those things. Man, wait for you haven't seen it yet, because the good stuff's coming. And conversely, everyone wants to execute and get a 3 and out that first set of downs and everything else. But sometimes you hit a home run after you strike out, type of thing. So don't miss the good stuff. And so, again, it's easy to talk about, But no, this will be our first kind of opportunity as a group, kind of going into a game that way. And so, yeah, try to lead them through it. And then also from a coaching standpoint, you got to make sure that you're practicing what you're preaching.
Bouncing right off of that marquee matchup, national TV, opportunity to improve to 3-0. Does this game feels like it has potential for a statement game, maybe the stakes are just a little bit higher?
Yeah, I just and again, this is just me. I just have been involved in too many games over 23 years to kind of fall into that trap on either side of it. The doom and gloom when you don't get the outcomes, or the euphoria when you get one. It's the next one, and it's big. There's no doubt about it, and we're excited. We're thrilled. Again, that's when you're telling guys to come play for you, and these guys are making decisions, and they want to play on the stage, man, and we're going to provide one for them on Saturday, and I know the crowd will be outstanding. We've actually had a great crowd considering weather delays and stuff like that. I wouldn't have gone the last 2 weeks if I was, just the reality of it. I'm saying that it'll be a friends and family game, and I'd go out there, and then so that just speaks to UCF, and so I'm laughing about it, but that's a kudos to the fans here. But I know it'll be rocking, and it'll be awesome and all those things. But you fight for the outcome, and then you work for the next one.
The small sample size has been talked about. The first 2 weeks, how much of your defense would you characterize as like base or vanilla? And how have you used the bye week to get these guys on the same page to maybe start running more exotic things as you get ready for conference play?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of everything. From a competitive standpoint, don't want to, okay, well, now this is the stuff we're going to be running this weekend type of thing. But certainly, just the way the games have gone, we've been able to be a little bit more base in some scenarios and some situations. Now, on the same token, you go back to week one, we're fighting, scratching, clawing to get a win in the fourth quarter. Believe me, we weren't sitting on our hands and holding calls for this one type of thing. But certainly last week, or 2 weeks ago, there weren't as many opportunities to do some of those things. And so we want to be multiple. We absolutely do. We want to put these guys in position to wreak some havoc in the backfield from a front standpoint, and also mixed coverages on the back end. And so without question, we won't be holding anything back come Saturday. And in the same sense as, we do want to be sound, simple, repeatable, and adaptable. So we want to ask these guys to do the things they've been practicing. So it'll be another opportunity to kind of build those cumulative reps that we had in the first couple of weeks and the bye week, and have better execution come Saturday.
Coach, just first off, I know it was a tough week last week with Coach Clark. Just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on Coach Clark and just, your feelings about him.
Yeah, anytime you're going something like this, Sean and his family, our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, Janelle, Gianna, and Braxton. So they're working through some stuff. He's obviously fighting. He's a fighter. Coach Clark is that. we're taking things day by day, and there's a lot more important things in football and things that he's working through. I know his family has a positive attitude. He has a positive attitude. So, yeah, I'm not to get into that much because there's just a lot that I don't know, but it's tough because Coach Clark's really good dude. We're all close with him, good person. And one thing that I know about him is he's a fighter, and he'll work through the issues that he needs to work through.
So on that note, I know last week that was going on, but in the bye week, what did you work on? What areas did you identify after the first two that needed a point of emphasis during the bye week?
Yeah, we really went old school, back to base fundamentals. A lot of blocking, lower pad level was the point of emphasis after the first two games. The fundamentals of blocking the perimeter, just playing pitch and catch. So it really went back to like install one, day one. We had a couple good days of just playing football and not too worried about anything other than ourselves. So that was good.
Steve, going back to Coach Clark, and what have you seen from the offensive line group? I mean, obviously it's got to be hard. It's hard for everyone, but for them personally to have to lose their coach this way, what has been their attitude? What have you guys done maybe to kind of build some, keep everyone, I guess, up with everything going on that's happened last
Well, it's
week?
kind of like what Coach Frost preaches on a day-to-day basis. It's all about resiliency. And the good thing about playing this game, playing football, is it allows you to compartmentalize what's going on outside the world. So for our players, yeah, it's, been different for sure. And, what I'm impressed by from our team is the resilience that they've shown, their ability to come out and put things that are really important, obviously, to the side so we can get done the work that we need to get done. And then go back to, giving our thoughts and prayers to Coach Clark and his family.
Go through a tragedy like that throughout the week, then the optics of a big game on Saturday, national TV, opportunity to improve to 3-0. How do you think your team will respond to adversity?
Yeah, they've shown resiliency, just thinking about the first two games, obviously it's very different and way smaller scale. But, we've had two schedules kind of get torn up because of weather, and our guys were really resilient in those situations. And, I'm not surprised. I know they're going to be able to compartmentalize what they need to and go play football. So I think our guys are excited for the opportunity to play, in particular up front on the offensive line, maybe a little bit extra and new motivation. But at the same time, I think that just comes back to what Coach Frost preaches all the time, resiliency.
What are the optics of this game to you?
Just to be honest, every week is a new opportunity, so this is game 3.
When you're missing a coach, what do the logistics look like? You have Alex there to help, but have you had to get more hands-on, or how have you worked it?
Yeah, Coach Farah, so Alex, we call him Coach Bear. I had to ask him before, like, how do you pronounce your last name? Because I just call him Coach Bear, and he is Coach Clark's handpicked assistant. I think his title is Assistant Offensive Line Analyst. And he works hand in hand with Coach Clark, and he's done a tremendous job of taking the load over. And then where we've been able to help him is like maybe myself or Coach Frost will get involved with the drill. The rest of our quality control assistant coach has done a good job of picking up some of the slack because Coach Bear is really responsible for a lot of things that goes into the prep for what practice looks like in the game plan too. And he's just he's taken on extra obligations, and he's done a tremendous job with that. He's a pro. It's a guy that's coached his own room before, so this is nothing new to him in regards to running the room. The bigger issue is just, you almost have 20 offensive linemen, and he only has one set of eyeballs. So to your point, yeah, we're trying to, in the meantime, try to get some of the other staff just a little bit more involved with some of the drills, but he's doing a great job with those guys.
How important is that continuity of having him be a part of it?
Yeah, it's a big part. Like nothing's changed in relationship to what we're teaching and what Coach Bear teaches. He obviously worked with Coach Clark all the way back at App State, so they're very familiar. They teach a lot of the same fundamentals. So it's really like nothing's changed from that standpoint. It's just losing a set of eyeballs is a tough thing, and we're working through it.
What's the status of Cam Fancher going into this game, and what's the likelihood that we see more than one quarterback going into this game?
Well, it's good to have Cam back in practice, and so in regards to what where he's going to be at on Saturday, I don't know that yet. I don't like to talk about injuries, but it is good to see him out there at practice, and the rest of the guys running around with a little bit of rest from bye week, because you get to this point in the season. I know it's relatively early, but coming off of fall camp, all the stuff they did in the summer and playing a couple games, there's nicks and bruises everywhere. It's good to see the three quarterbacks out there taking reps.
Yeah, the competition go through fall camp. Do you reevaluate and reopen the competition as both guys are back now and having played a couple of games? Does it change a little bit the dynamics of what that position looks like going forward the rest of the way?
One of the great things about the offense right now is there's a good amount of depth everywhere. We still have youth and we still have some inexperience that we're working through. Having 2 games under our belt, you start to see the confidence in a lot of those guys, not just talking about the quarterbacks, but all positions. Across the board on offense, the competition's a really good thing because that's going to bring out the best in most people. And we say that every day with the quarterbacks, and it's a healthy competition because all 3 of those guys, not just the 3, all the guys in the quarterback room, they really care about each other to help each other. So in relationship to us continuing to evaluate the position, yeah, absolutely true. And now we have game film to back it up, to really say, okay, this is a guy that was able to move the ball and make good decisions. And I think all the quarterbacks that have got in have done a nice job of that. And then obviously there's things that they want to go back and make corrections on. And Tate played pretty good against North Carolina A&T, and then his opportunity to play against Jack State, he did a good job. And, Cam had some pretty good moments too before he got hurt. So we have to weigh on and measure all of those things in relationship to what's best for not just the offense, but the team. So that the process is ongoing.
In regards to Taven Jackson, what have you seen from him? Like, how would you evaluate his 2 games out there and just how he's kind of attacked everything else, just practice and prep and film study and all that stuff?
Yeah, and he's really been locking in. He's been coming in and watching extra tape, so you're fired up about that. He's not the only one. All the quarterbacks do it. But just the sense of urgency for all those guys to get the game plan down, to get up in the morning and be ready to go, because we practice in the morning. So you got to get yourself ready to go. All the prep that goes into practice, and he's done a tremendous job of that the last couple of weeks of just really being the quarterback, being the guy that's going to do the extra studying and get ready to go. And that's, again, it's not just Tay. That's all the guys. So excited to see that.
Specifically for Taven, he faced Steve Belichick's defense last year against Washington. Have you talked to him about kind of what he saw in that game, and does that experience hold some sort of value to you as far as this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's going to be a lot of similarities that carry over from last year to this year, but it's a different team. They're not exactly the same as they were at Washington, although there's going to be some reoccurring themes. And definitely picked Tay's brain earlier in the week. In fact, we had a conversation about that defense in that game quite a bit over the course of the time that he's been here, too. So, yeah, I think that experience counts. Obviously, it's not going to be exactly the same. And if you know anything about the Belichick system, I mean, you're going to see something one week and then they're going to run something else the next week. If we were to play them 3 times, it might be 3 different game plans. I don't know that for sure. But, yeah, certainly I think the experience counts for something.
What kind of in-game challenges could a Coach Belichick system pose you?
Well, I just say the one thing that they do a really good job of is mixing the pictures. They multiple personnels, so different groupings on defense, and there's no real tendencies in relationship to, okay, what are they going to line up? What coverage are they going to play? What fronts are they going to be in? What's the blitz? So they do a good job of hiding their tendencies and percentages. And listen, we only really have 3 games on them in the first place. So, we go back and look at all the stuff that they did, previous times, whether it be at the Patriots or be, Steve at Washington. And it's not as good as the tape that we have from the last 3 games, but as important as those things are, it's really more about us. What we've really honed in this week and continuation from the bye week is letting it be about us. That's what we need to be. We need to be on the fundamentals that we've worked on during the bye week, low pad level, understanding our scheme, communicating things up front. There's going to be some different fronts, so up front we need to be able to do a good job of IDing what the defense they are in so that we can communicate down the chain what we need to get done to execute the play.
Coach Belichick's experience obviously comes at the NFL at the pro levels. Coach Frost had spent some time at the pro level as well. How have you seen the pro game begin to influence the college game a little bit? I know there's obviously some back and forth between the 2 levels of the game, but how's the pro game influenced the college game?
Yeah, well, I mean, welcome to 2025. Everyone's got Twitter. They got a thing called PFF now, so every play that you ever see watching the games, you can get 4 games up at once on your YouTube TV at home. So there's a lot more information being spread around. So I think it's not like there was never any connection from the NFL to college football. It's still about blocking and tackling. It's just there's a lot more access to scheme in a lot of ways. That can almost be a hindrance more than it can be help, because then you try to do too much. But that's been going on for years. I mean, you can even throw the high school level in there too. Sometimes the high school is going to influence college game more than the NFL game is going to influence the college game and vice versa. So you see it. It's it's day in, day out. You're going to see something on Sundays that's going to show up the next week on Saturdays. It's a back and forth.
Coach, you talked on the confidence building up, especially in that quarterback room. Now, no matter who starts, there is a sort of pressure going into a nationally televised game like this. What are the conversations like with the guys to keep that down?
It's another game. I don't. At least as a staff, we don't try to make too much more of playing North Carolina A&T than North Carolina. I get it. There's probably going to be more people in the stands and all those things, but that's stuff for other people to worry about. We're just worried about what's going on in our offices and our meeting rooms and what's going on in the practice field. So I think the guys are going to be excited to play Saturday because they had a bye week last week. We didn't get an opportunity to play, and now it's our turn to play, so we're excited and ready to go.
Going into this week, obviously we saw the explosion of Jaden Nixon last week. How important is it for you guys to have two running backs that are explosive and can get the ball and make big plays at any time?
Yeah, to piggyback on your point, how important is it to have depth at the running back position? I think it's super critical at that position because that's the easiest guy to get the ball to. You just hand it to him. But the issue, I think I said this in the summer, I mean, when you're carrying the football, 10, 15 plus times a game, you're getting tackled, so you got a higher chance of getting dinged up a little bit. So when you can spread the carries out, that helps a lot in relationship to keeping everyone upright and healthy for the course of the season. And it's really good to see Nixon have the explosive plays that he had in this last game. That helps confidence. And nobody's more excited about that than Miles Montgomery. You just look at the sideline, watch who's the first guy to celebrate with them. And then the same thing goes when Miles has success. The most excited guy is Nixon. So really, really cool group of dudes. And excited to watch those guys continue to play off each other.